It's how one New Orleans college student is remembering her mother and grandmother tonight, both killed by COVID-19. Devin Bartolotta has her story.
Cora Jones is holding on to these photos of happier times.
She took so many pictures of me, so many pictures of us, so I could always look back and be like, oh my God, I remember this, I remember that. And I could connect a memory with a picture.
Their memories with her mom, Cabertha Jones, and grandmother, Ora Mae Jones, who both died with COVID-19 just weeks apart. Cora is 24, a Delgado College student, and now left alone in the house they shared together.
In this moment, I'm okay. Like, I can't tell you how I'm gonna be in 30 minutes, but right now, I'm fine.
It started in March. Cora grandmother was admitted to Ochsner Medical Center with coronavirus symptoms. The next day, her 53-year-old mother was admitted to St. Bernard Parish Hospital and tested positive for the virus.
So before she went on the ventilator, I was able to talk to her, text her, and call her. But then as soon as she went on the ventilator, because she was heavily sedated, it's not like she actually knew what was going on around her.
Her grandmother and mother died about 2 weeks apart. Cora is now putting her own life on pause, trying to pay family bills while grieving the loss of her biggest supporters. A GoFundMe page set up to support her has raised more than $4,000 in just a few days.
I just want to be able to give my mom the proper rest that she deserves. I want to be able to give her a burial service. I want to focus on my grieving.
She says the grief stings at unexpected times, and while she's clinging to photos of the irreplaceable women she lost, she hopes others take it as a cue to take everything more seriously.
This pandemic is real, and you really never know if it can hit you.
Devin Bartolotta, Eyewitness News.
Hi, you guys. So, today I'm going to be talking about my story, our story, and my coronavirus experience. So let's just start off by saying that, my experience is different than everybody else's. And, other people may experience stuff or losing family members with coronavirus. I'm just speaking on my behalf, my experience, what I went through, and my story, and hopefully it's able to help people or connect with people or just put the word out there more. So it all started in, I want to say mid-May. It was like the end of May, not mid-May, but the end of May, and it was right before we started quarantining. It was actually the Friday before we started quarantine. Donald Trump had initiated the quarantine, and on that Monday, my mom, she had started getting symptoms on that Friday. Now, mind you, my mom had coronavirus, my grandmother had coronavirus. And I never got tested for coronavirus, but I treated it as if I did have coronavirus, right? So my mom was the one who first started having symptoms. Her symptoms were she had a headache the first couple days, then she started vomiting. And then after she started vomiting, she had, let's see, what else happened after that? After she started vomiting, she had a cough that was really, really bad. And also on top of that, she had a fever and she had chills. Now the thing is, my mom, before she even went into the hospital, she was trying to get better herself. So she was quarantined for 11 days prior to actually going to the hospital. Then she was in the hospital for about, I want to say 17, 18 days. So it was a while that she was going through this pandemic. And I want to speak on my mom's first because her case was actually the worst. So that's why I'm just trying to speak on hers first. That was pretty much her symptoms though. I wound up calling the hospital because her symptoms did not seem to get better. Like, they would get better a little bit, but then like they'll progressively kind of get worse. Like, she had the headache, and then she had the fever, and then she broke the fever, but then she started vomiting, and then she stopped vomiting, and then she started having chills, and then she stopped having chills, and she had a really high fever again, and it was just like a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, I wound up calling the hospital, and sending my mom to the hospital. She had like a fever of like 106, and yeah, it was just it was a lot, because the thing is, my mom, she was a very strong woman. So when I seen that she was at her, I want to say, sickest and lowest points, it hurt me. It hurt me a lot, you know? And just to see her be so helpless, and to say, like, you know, she had chills, and sometimes you just need a moment. I'm sorry, y'all. To say she had chills, and to say, like, you know, she was really in pain, it hurt, right? So I sent her to the hospital. I didn't send her to the hospital, but she went to the hospital. So that was her symptoms. My grandmother's symptoms were a little different. She really didn't have a cough or shortness of breath. Really, she didn't even have a fever. What was going on with her is that she just was not acting like herself. My grandmother, she was very active, if that's the word. So she would do anything that anybody else that was young or even in the older days would do. She wasn't like the older people that you see that's in like the group homes, who can't even give themselves baths, can't even, like, you know, can't even talk or anything like that. Whatever the case may be, you know, she wasn't like that at all. She was the exact opposite. She would walk around the house, she would do her little exercises, she would read her newspaper, watch the news, watch Family Feud, all those kind of stuff. And so for her, she was acting really different. She was not being responsive. My mom would try to talk to her, my grandmother would try to talk to her. My mom would try to talk to her, and I would try to talk to her, and she would not respond. Like, we would literally, like, my mom would be like, Mom, and she'll just be like, you know, just looking around, like, not really there. And so, it was weird. It was, like, really weird for us. We were like, what's going on? And the things that she would normally do that was so easy for her to do, it was hard. Like, it was easy for her to eat. Like, if she would try to pick up a spoon, her hand would be shaking so hard because she physically didn't even have enough strength to pick up a spoon. And so in my head, I was like, dang, what if she's fatigued? But I didn't think of it like that. She would pick up a spoon. She was hard for her to pick up a spoon. She would be slouched over if she was laying down. So she wouldn't never lay straight. She would just be slouched over. And she had like a little cough, but it was like a like that. It wasn't like a cough how my mom had it. The cough that my mom had sounded deadly, literally. And so those was her symptoms. And the reason why we sent her to the hospital was because she started what's the word, like, not really screaming, but like yelling in the middle of the night, and she couldn't walk anymore, like, and she didn't even have enough strength to even sit up. And then one night, the night that I had called the hospital, they were like wondering like what's going on with her, and she was like, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. She kept saying that. And so my mom and I, we was just like, it might just be congestive heart failure, because she had that before and she had high blood pressure. And that's what we thought it was, because it's like she wasn't really responsive, but we assumed that it was old age because she had just made 90. So, and the thing is, my great grandmother, when she had hit a certain age, she had started kind of like deteriorating too. And so my mom was like, oh no, this happened with my grandmother, you know, it just happens with old age, you know, something just clicks in their mind and they're not how they used to be, you know. So we just assumed that it was old age and that it was congestive heart, a mild case of congestive heart failure. So we called the nurses, and it was like, we're glad that you came in and called when you did, because, you know, she was struggling. They gave her medicine to keep her, comfortable. She wasn't on like a breathing machine or anything like that. She wasn't even on a ventilator or anything. And so, I'm sorry if I'm all over. She wasn't even on a ventilator or anything like that. She literally just like had went into the hospital, and they asked her if she knew her name, and she was like, yes, stuff like that. Like, again, we called the nurses because we couldn't actually see her. They said that she didn't really have symptoms or signs of COVID-19, but they were just treating her like that because why were they treating her? They was just treating her like that because she had that congestive heart failure. But they said that she didn't have anything, like any fluid in her lungs. She didn't have the fever. She really didn't even have the cough. So they was just treating it as if it was that. So I was like, okay, cool. You know, I just wanted her to be in the hospital because there was nothing that we could literally do. Because my grandmother was like a little on the heavy side. And I'm little old me, I'm probably about like 115, 120. So I keep on like trying to pick her up and stuff. Like, it was starting to like put a barrier on me, and I literally could not handle it anymore. And my mom, she was like super fatigued, super tired, had headaches and stuff. And I didn't really want to put that on her either. So, you know, I talked to my mom, and we both decided that it was the best option. And fast forward the next day, my mom, I just remember her having like the worst cough. Like, it was like so bad. It was like, I can't even explain the kind of cough it was. It was like, I guess that's what a dry cough was, but it was so bad. It sounded like literally she was coughing her lungs up. Like, it sounded that bad. And I just remember like her throwing up from like her coughing and stuff. Like, that's how bad it was. And I just remember her being like, I can't breathe. Like, oh Jesus, like just saying that. And I was like, Mom, do you want me to bring you to the hospital? Like, not bring you. I was like, Mom, do you want me to call the paramedics? What is going on? And she was like, no, but I guess. Like, that's what she said. Like, literally, like, no, but I guess. Because with my mom, she was fairly getting better, like I said, but it wasn't like a big improvement, like a big turnaround like that. It was like some things would help her improve, but then other ways it was like she still wasn't improving the way that I guess the way that a normal person would. Like, after 11 days and it's still not getting better, like, come on now, what's going on, you know? So when I'm calling the paramedic, and I just remember like my mom just being like so scared, and like her talking to the nurse right before, and like, you know, people praying for her and stuff. And I remember because the doctor literally wasn't even gonna take her into the hospital because she had a little cough, but when they asked her to breathe in and breathe out, she didn't have any fluid in her lungs. So they wasn't gonna take her to the hospital. But what happened was she had a high fever. She had a fever of like, I think 109 or something like that. Please, I have to look at the records, but it was an extremely high fever. And it was like, yeah, you have a fever and you have a cough, so they have to take her to the hospital. So they wound up taking her to the hospital. And the day after she got in the hospital, that's when they had said that my grandmother had passed away. And it was like extremely shocking for me, my mom, for really the whole family, especially because when I had spoke to the nurse prior, the nurse was telling me that they're going to treat it as COVID-19, but she doesn't really have any symptoms of COVID-19. She was saying that people in this, at that age, in this stage, it's hard for their bodies to fight off basically anything, but they're treating it as if it is COVID-19. But they said that she didn't have any fluid in her lungs. They said that she was not really responsive, but responding enough. So I assumed that, you know, not necessarily that she was getting better, but I didn't think that she was getting worse. And it was a big shock to my mom. It was a big shock to the family. And that one still is kind of hitting me because it's like, I don't know. Like, it's just like, I was like so shocked. Like, I literally was shocked that like, she just like that she was going, like she was just here and just like that, like she's not here anymore. And I just remember my mom just being in pain and being like, why, you know? And I just like was trying to tell my mom, you know, just she's in a better place now. She's healed. She's doing better, you know, stuff like that. And yeah, it was a lot. It was definitely a lot for us. It was a lot. But fast forward, my mom, she was in the hospital too. And at first she was getting better. But then she just like started getting progressively worse. After about like 7 days, the first couple days, she was doing okay, but she still had like really like bad trouble like breathing, and like the cough suppressants that they was giving her, they was trying to wear her off of them, but when they did, she would still be coughing a lot. So I would like to believe that she wanted to get better, but I don't know what happened. They wound up putting her on a ventilator, and I just remember she was really scared, because I think they was only able to let her FaceTime one person, and she chose me to FaceTime, and I was just happy about that. And of course people be like, of course she's gonna choose you, she's your daughter, I mean she's your mother, but you know, like, I don't know, I just was happy. And I remember like her just being so scared, you know, like she was really scared. And like I said, I would like to believe that she wanted to fight. I don't really know what was going on in her mind, but I would like to believe like that's what she wanted. And yeah, she went on a ventilator. When she went on a ventilator, things were okay. And I was still trying to have hope and stuff like that. Not saying like trying to have hope. Yeah, around like day 7 or something like that, she had went on a ventilator. Cause I forgot what had happened. Like I said, even like at home, it was kind of the same way. So she went to the hospital. She was getting better, then she was getting worse, because she had gotten better. And a social worker had even called me. It was like, hey, look, we preparing for her to come home. Who's gonna be her caregiver? Like they was talking to me about that type of stuff. But then like all of a sudden, like a switch had happened. And when that switch happened, that's like when everything went left and she had to go on a ventilator. And so she was on a ventilator for about, I wanna say, maybe like 7 to 8 days. And then after that, something had drastically happened. And they wasn't really seeing any improvement in her. Like the doctors was telling me their main focus is to keep their patients stable. But my mom, she just was not stable on her own. Like she was not breathing on her own at all. Like sometimes her oxygen levels would be good, other times her oxygen levels wouldn't be good. But then yeah, like around day 9, she started, her kidney started failing, and she had to get on dialysis. And so the doctors had explained to me, it was like, hey, look, you know, her kidneys are failing. You can't. So yesterday, my phone had stopped recording mid while I was talking. And now it is a new day. And of course I look the same because I didn't want the video to be too, like, you know, different. But I'm back. And where I left off at, I was talking about my mom being on the dialysis machine. And she was on dialysis for like a few days after that. But what happened was her kidneys had just failed. And the doctor had explained to me, hey, you know, a person can live with their kidneys failing, but with the way that my mom's going, she's still not stable. So it was still working on her being stable, and then things just kind of hit a turn where her kidneys was failing, her lungs had already failing because the machine was doing everything for her, and then her heart just was failing. And so about day, I want to say 12, because I'm fast forwarding, because like nothing really happened between those days. She was pretty much like, they had put her on different ventilator settings to see if she would be able to be stable, if she would be able to get off the ventilator, if she would just be stable. Like I said, that was their main goal, main focus. And she wasn't. So about day 12, fast forward, they were saying that she was just not doing good. So yesterday my phone had stopped recording mid while I was talking, and now it is a new day, and of course I look the same because I didn't want the video to be too, like, you know, different. But I'm back. And where I left off at, I was talking about my mom being on the dialysis machine. And she was on dialysis for like a few days after that. But what happened was her kidneys had just failed. And the doctor had explained to me, hey, you know, a person can live with their kidneys failing, but with the way that my mom's going, she's still not stable. So it was still working on her being stable, and then things just kind of hit a turn where her kidneys was failing, her lungs had already failing because the machine was doing everything for her, and then her heart just was failing. And so about day, I want to say 12, because I'm fast forwarding because like nothing really happened between those days. She was pretty much like, they had put her on different ventilator settings to see if she would be able to be stable, if she would be able to get off the ventilator, if she would just be stable. Like I said, that was their main goal, main focus, and she wasn't. So about day 12, fast forward, they were saying that she was just not doing good. And I just remember praying to God and praying to God and praying to God and praying to God and being like, God, look, you know, my mom has purpose in her. I know that you are a miracle worker. I know that you're a healer. I know that you're a restorer. I know that you're a redeemer, because God is. He is all of those things. But I had my cousin, she told me, she said, hey, look, God can do all of these things. In so many words, she said, God can do all of these things, but you have to be able to know if that's in her will, if that's in his will for her. You really have to pray and ask him that. And if it's not, you have to accept whatever happens, basically. And so day 12, I started praying, and I was like, you know what, God, just take away my desires, take away my thoughts, take away the distractions, and just give me good discernment. Just show me what your purpose and your will for my mom is, and whatever it is, I will accept it. And so I remember like that night, I was watching a Medea movie or something like that. I don't know what I was watching. I was watching a Medea movie. And all of a sudden, the song Pretty Wings from Maxwell had popped up in my head, but it was just the chorus. It wasn't like the lyrics. It popped in my head and then it just kind of went away, because I kept praying to God and I asked him to give me a sign. So it went away and I didn't think nothing of it, but at the same time, I was like, I think this is God talking to me. And that just had happened. Like, that was it. That was day 12. And so day 13, I was praying for the same thing, because the doctors, they started basically telling me that my mom was deteriorating, but I didn't want to believe it. I was like, look, God, I have faith. She's on life support at this point. And also it was if she was to die, I told them to bring her back to resuscitate. So at this point, I'm like, look, I'm still believing in God, not seeing a sign that he had already gave me. So then I pray to God again, and he gives me the same sign, Pretty Wings, and then I kind of start accepting it. Like, I started accepting it, and I think it was still very like a shocking moment to me, because even though I was like accepting it, I still didn't want to accept it. I still was just like, you know, this can't be life. Like, my mom, you know, my mom has been here. Like, you know, she still could have had purpose for the rest of her life. She was fairly young. She was 53. So it's like, me, I'm like accepting it, but at the same time, I'm in disbelief. So it's kind of like in between. And then on day 14, literally, I woke up with the heaviest heart. The pain is undescribable, because it literally felt like something died inside me. And when I woke up, I had the spirit of like worry over me, because I just knew, like, I knew that God had told me that it wasn't in her will to be on this earth. it sounds crazy, but I knew, like I felt it. I woke up that morning and I felt it. I felt the heaviness on my heart. I felt something dying inside of me. I felt worried, and I felt worried because I didn't want to let go of the fact that my mom was not going to be here anymore. I didn't want to let go of the memories. I didn't want to let go of her voice. I didn't want to let go of her spirit. Like all of these things I didn't want to let go of, and I still don't want to let go of it, because you know that's my mom. And it's only been about a week and a couple, I think it's been a week. It's been a week. Has it? Has it been 2 weeks? I don't know. I can't, the days are crazy, you know, quarantine, so it's been about a week. And yeah, I did not want to let go of that. And I think I'm still at a point where it's like, it's not about me letting go of her, it's about accepting the fact that she's gone. And I think that I'm still trying to accept the fact that she's gone. You know, and I'm probably going to be struggling with that for a long time, and just like wondering why, and you know, different things like that, like really just trying to figure out why it happened. We already know the basics of coronavirus, that this stuff is deadly and that it's killing, but I'm talking about from a deeper perspective, spirit-wise, with God. Like I know what God can do, and just trying to understand what level that he's taking me to is where I'm at, and accepting that she's, you know, not gonna be here anymore, because it's a hard pill to swallow. But going back to it, because I just jumped into my feelings of my mom and letting go. Going back to it, the day that she passed away, that was the morning, day 14, that I was just like I knew. Like I just knew. And even on the way to the hospital, because the doctors had told me, and it was like, I wish that I could call you on better circumstances, but at this point, if we was to even try to flip your mom over, because they had her in like a fetal position, so they were saying if they was to even try to flip my mom over to give her more oxygen to her brain, that she would basically pass away. Like that was it. It was no if, ands, or but. Like the life support was doing all of the things for her, and that her heart was already failing, and like she still had a little heartbeat, but her heart was already failing. So what we were able to do is this program called Comfort Care. And with Comfort Care, you get to see your loved one before they pass away. Before, like, you get to see them right during their pass, and they basically give them medicine to make them comfortable while they're passing away, so they won't be in any pain and anything like that. And yeah, that morning they had told me, and we wound up doing a Comfort Care. It was my god sister and I, and we went to the hospital. And prior to the hospital was probably like the worst 2 hours of my life, because I felt this wave of nausea and worry, and I was so scared. I was literally in the bathroom, like praying to God, asking him to take me out of this misery. I was really telling God, I was like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Because I did not want to let my mom go. Like, I literally was like shaking, crying, nauseated. I was like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And a little backstory about me, because I don't think I explained this in any of my other videos. Back in, I think, 2018 and 2017, I was struggling a lot with stomach issues, where I lost a lot of weight. I'm talking about, I was like 97 pounds, because I was so small. I could not hold any food down. And for those 2 years, I was like miserable because of like my stomach. Anyway, fast forward 2 years later, I get this same feeling that I was feeling for those 2 years straight. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, I can't do this. Like, I literally cannot do this. And even like on my way, just like putting on my clothes, I just kept feeling like I have to throw up. Like every 5 minutes, I felt like that. It was just a wave of it would hit, a wave of it. And it was just so horrible, like unbearable, to where like I couldn't even walk. It felt like I was paralyzed in my own body, because my body was fighting. I feel like my body was fighting my spirit to let my mom go, in a way. I don't know if that sounds crazy, because the thing is, like, I was still grieving over my grandmother. So it's like I'm grieving over my grandmother. My mom's on a ventilator now. It's like I basically have to let my mom go too. And it's like I just wanted to hold on to a piece of the only stability that I had in this earthly life left. Like, I really wanted to hold on to that, despite of all the people that then came and gone in my life, all the places that I had been. My mom was still there, my grandmother was still there, and letting go of that felt like, I don't know, it just felt crazy and unbearable, right? So I on my way to the hospital, like I said, was nauseated, and I had some church friends pray for me and my Connect crew, and I thank God for them so much. And they really prayed for me, and they really shook off anything that the enemy was trying to put on me just leading up to that moment. Because like I said, I didn't want to let her go, and it was a whole bunch of what ifs. Like, what if this happens? What if I'm not prepared? I was even thinking about telling the doctors that I needed to take anxiety medicine, because that's how bad it was. Like, it felt like anxiety times 12. So going into the hospital, it was really, really scary for me, but it was also a peace of mind, because the hardest part was actually preparing to get to my mom. It wasn't actually seeing her. Like, that was the crazy part. And I remember a guy telling me, like, this was the hardest part. Like, I've gotten over the hardest part. Now I get to actually see her. And when we went to the hospital little section, they had us put on two different type of masks, a protective mask and then an extra mask. We had to put on gloves, we had to put on a visor, we had to put on this little thing that we put on our arms or whatever. We had to put on the things for our feet, and all of the stuff that we had, like all of our phones or gadgets or anything like that, we had to put them in our pockets so that it won't touch our faces or anything. And actually going into the room and seeing my mom, she did not look like herself. And I think that image is going to be embedded in my head for the longest. But it's okay, because at that moment, looking at her, I accepted that she isn't going to be here. And that's what I needed. I needed to accept that she wasn't going to be here. And she was on life support. Yes, her heart was still beating, but so much had failed, like her kidneys, heart, lungs, and I had to make that decision to be like, hey, do I want her to be in pain and just be on this ventilator and not even know where she's at, what's going on with her, and her heart could fail at any second, any time, or do I want to make the decision to let her not suffer anymore? And that's what I did. And seeing her in that moment, you know, like, it was a lot. It really, 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 really was a lot. But I did not want her to suffer anymore. And I know that she was a strong woman. I know that she would have, you know, I knew she would have wanted me to fight for her. But at the same token, I knew seeing her like that, that's not how she would have wanted to be. Like, my mom was very independent, and she didn't want to be like that. And just accepting that, you know, she isn't going to be here anymore. Yeah. It's something that I'm still working on. But seeing her, I'm just glad I was able to see her. I'm glad that I was able to see her, even though, you know, she wasn't the same. I know that she loved me. I know that my grandmother loved me, you know, and I know that she's in such a better place right now, that she probably does not feel any hurt, any pain, any worry, any of the things that she was feeling on this earthly life. I just know that she's not feeling it anymore. And I'm happy because she's not suffering. I'm happy because my grandmother's not suffering, and they don't have to worry about all of the crazy stuff that like life tries to give you, because they are with the person who created life. They are with the person, not even a person, well, they are with the being who created life. They are with the being who takes away that worry and who gives you that peace and that strength. So just knowing that they are doing so much better than they would have ever done down here, I'm okay, and I'm making peace with it, you know. I don't know if I touched on this. I had COVID-19 symptoms as well, but they were not the symptoms that people were saying that they were at the time. So I didn't actually know that that's what was going on. And like I said, I treated it as if I did have COVID-19. The only symptoms that I had really bad stomach issues. I had congestion, and I had loss of smell. But the congestion was so bad around here, it felt like a headache, but not really. My nose was burning, my throat was very scratchy, but I never would cough. Like, I wouldn't cough. Like, I didn't have the urge to cough, it was just scratchy. So I just took a whole bunch of Halls, vitamin C, and some elderberry juice, and I pretty much was okay, and the congestion went away. I asked my doctor if I should get tested, and she was like, it doesn't make sense because I don't have the headache, fever, or cough. She just said to quarantine myself while I'm still feeling like that, and a little bit after. So that's exactly what I did. I quarantined myself. It was miserable, I'm not gonna lie. My feelings was miserable because it felt like a sinus infection, and I had not had a sinus infection since I was like 8 years old, 9 years old. So being older in life, having a sinus infection, that's what it felt like. And it felt like yeah, it just felt like a really bad sinus infection. Like, that's, I can't explain it. Like, that's all it felt like. But it was really miserable, and I quarantined myself, and I just assumed that I had COVID-19 as well, because my grandmother had it in the house. And even though I was Lysol and disinfecting and everything, my mom would a lot of times go from her room to the kitchen, to the bathroom, to the hallway, to the front room. Then I would go from like, we was just cross-contaminating everything. And when she would wash clothes, I'll wash clothes. And so even though I Lysol and stuff like that, it was more than likely that I was going to get it anyway, just because I was like, we was all around each other. Yeah, we was all around each other. But there is a few things that I want you guys to take away from me making this video. The first is, do not take life for granted. Take life more serious. No matter what you're doing, where you are, how much money you make, how much money you don't make, no matter what is going on, take life serious. Take this thing serious. Do not take life for granted, because your life can change in just a split second. You can be here one moment, then the next moment you're not. And that's coming from personal experiences, and that's just coming from knowing, you know, like, it literally can switch like this. Take life more serious. Walk in the purpose that God has created for you. Walk in that passion. Do things that you love to do. Don't just focus yourself on money and on the worldly things when there is so much more to life. It's so deeper than that to life. Like, life is really deeper than what you guys may think that it is. And I'm not saying that, you know, people don't think it's deep, but it's just way deeper. Even for me, I had a revelation of how deep life is when losing my grandmother. It made me want to step up and walk more in this purpose that God has for me. Second thing, turn to God. Like, at this moment, just turn to God. Put your all into God. Really, really, really do that. Like, focus on God if you don't want to focus on nothing else, because this world, it's just a passing over. But God is for eternity. He is for eternity. Focus on God, even if you're angry at him, even if you don't understand, even if you know, you're not in church, even if let's see what else, because there's so many different stories, you know. Even if you're in a place where you feel like you're not even good enough, when you feel like God don't even love you, still just try to focus on God. Still push through that. Still push through those feelings, because most of the time it's the enemy telling you that to try to prevent you from your true blessing that God has in you. So continue to focus on God. And next thing, just love each other. Love your loved ones. Love your family. Love your enemies. Just love each other, because life is the way too short. Take what is going on with this pandemic as a lesson to be closer to God, as a lesson to work on your health, as a lesson to work on your mental, as a lesson to go to therapy, talk about your problems, fix your problems, talk about your problems in front of people that you know that will help you, that will keep positivity around you, and turn you to the right type of positive coping mechanisms. Like, if you want to go to therapy, you know, read a good book that can help your mind, that can help you stay away from those distractions, those worldly distractions that you may feel like will satisfy you at the moment, but in long run it doesn't. You know, just focus on God. That's all I can say. Just focus on God. I hope in making this video that it was able to touch people, even if it's one person. I hope that I was very informal about our story of coronavirus and COVID-19. I will be giving you guys updates. I want to shout out to all of the people that have constantly been hitting me up and just texting me and calling me, even if it's on Instagram, even if it's on Facebook, even if it's through my phone. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate y'all. All the people that's been calling me if I do not respond to their messages. Thank you guys too for just taking that extra step to do that. I want to thank all of the people that have donated to my GoFundMe account. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Everything counts. Everything counts, you guys. And I just thank you guys so much. I want to thank all of the people that have been praying for me. Oh my gosh. All of the people that stood by my side, that came and visited me since my mom's passing, that checked on me. I want to thank you guys so much. I love y'all. I really love everybody, for real, like I really do. I love y'all. I thank y'all for just watching this video, and I thank the people for just continuing to pray for me again. And I hope you guys enjoyed my story, and continue to watch my story and my testimony, y'all. And I will see y'all in the next video.